Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective, John Tran in the building. Tran, we got some sad news today, man. State Fair officially been canceled due to
hmm
COVID-19. And you know what that means and what it impacts. Now, Tran, according to what we've seen, Chris Del Conte, the Oklahoma athletic director, both of them have come out and said, we are going to try to play this game or we're all things moving forward.
It didn't
So,
seem like they just said that we are going to try to. They said, they said,
oh,
"Oh
they
no,
kind
we're playing,"
of.
which made me laugh reading that. But yeah, no, it definitely affects the season, to tell you the truth.
So my first question to you is hearing this news because there's several ways we can come at this, and from a sentimental standpoint, you took me to my first OU Texas game last season, so thank God I was able to get that off my bucket list. You've gone the last few years. I think you go every year,
No,
and
these were my first 2 years. Even when my
oh,
brother
okay,
played, this was the
okay.
first 2 years that I've gone. Yeah.
So what we were able to experience there, because that our experiences will play into the opinions of the other questions we dive into on this video. But this sucks. This
Yeah.
sucks. I mean, and it's getting real that adjustments are going to have to be made. We talked about it in the live chat. You've been one. I applaud you, sir, because you've been the one saying this thing's going to get pushed to spring, Steve, and all the momentum starting to go that direction. But now it's like games like this that are rivalry games that are so special to us and to our friends in Oklahoma up north, where we get to come together in the fall and the setting and the manner and the pageantry, all those things. It sucks, man. So just your thoughts on if they decide they say they start the season on time, we don't have any delays. What are you cool with them playing at the Cotton Bowl? No fans.
I mean, I'm cool with it, but if it's the way that I foresee it, I mean, I'd rather them, switch it over to at this time. Everyone talks about, hey, we should get rid of the Cotton Bowl and go. Should we get rid of the Cotton Bowl? Should we not? Switch it over to Jerry World. I mean, here's a time we can actually experiment with that without any objections from anyone else. That it's gonna be a bit. I know you would the one thing you would change is actually the time slot to make it a primetime game. So if they change it to a night game, when they want it in the nicer facilities, better atmosphere, better conditions. Nighttime games can get a little tricky outside, winds pick up, things like that. When they want it in a place that could also possibly be a preview for the Big 12 championship, so.
Agreed. And I agree. Well, I agree with your points, and you bring up some valid arguments, especially about containing, and having. If we're just in this thing of we're going to have the season no fans, and we're controlling the environment and all these different types of things, then sure, let's do it in Arlington. It doesn't matter at this point as long as it's neutral site and all the protocols are in place. I think that's conducive. I would be willing to negotiate the time. As you mentioned earlier, it should be in a prime time slot. If we're taking away the fans, we know why.
I I,
It's
I want
it's a not.
to I want
Oh,
to I
go
want to
ahead.
step in right there. Is that I don't want to see football without fans. It's gonna be shitty, to tell you the truth. I mean, it's not gonna be a fun. Like the game's just gonna. What are they gonna do? Like what I think soccer has been doing overseas is that they've been pumping noise into the stadium to make it sound like.
Cardboard cutouts.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
no, that's just. And especially a rivalry game like this, some of the some of the most, like the things that you look at the most are how the people interact with each other. And if you don't have that, it's just like it seems like it's scrimmage to me. I know it has weight within the Big 12 championship and also the national scale as well, but it just would feel like a scrimmage to me.
well, this is what's so interesting, man, is the money. The money's going to decide all this, but the money
Mhm.
goes both ways. And David Lee brought this up on our live chat when he was commenting from Texas Horns about all the people that are impacted financially in the financial ramifications of vendors and media people and everyone whose livelihood is directly tied to football, even if it's just seasonal work. If they're eliminated from the picture and it's very, very condensed in what we're getting as a product, don't we still lose money there? The ticket revenue would be null and void just to play a season. Or do they say, how do we maximize our dollars, albeit we may get the money on the back end in 2021, but we have a full season and with everyone present that we're able to generate the amount of revenue that we know we normally generate. So these are all very, very interesting discussions. Not having the backdrop of the state fair, which the state fair hasn't been canceled since World War II,
Hmm.
is an enormous deal. And that changes just the whole context of the game. But to your point, man, watching it without fans, there's like UFC's been able to be okay without fans there. I mean, that's where it comes down to, depending on the sport. We've seen some of the footage from the Korean Baseball League where they're still able to play, it still looks decent on TV, but football's different, man. I'm with
Hmm.
you. Football's different. Even
Yep.
basketball, when you're in a gym, because my opinion of this changed even with basketball, thinking about the TBT tournament and how they structured the court, I thought was very, very interesting, and it made it feel kind of like an AAU high-level scrimmage. We've seen some good basketball, the Dream Team scrimmages that they
Hmm.
showed us, where it's still very, very competitive, and as long as you have a camera in there, it's going to be a good product. Um, Football-wise, I guess it's because we haven't seen it, man. Like even camp scrimmages and whatnot. There's always people around. Like it's always within a certain setting, and to watch empty stadiums is going to be very, very weird. But at what point do you think that, whether it's Chris Del Conte or I heard the OUAD talking about monitoring CDC guidelines, at what point do they make a call on this? Because you see the state fairs making their call here in July, right? So, and granted, there's a lot of business that goes into it with all
Hmm.
the thousands of vendors that are at the event over a month's time. So I understand they have to get out ahead of this, but when does college football even make this determination, you think?
Uh, it's got to be soon. It's got to be within the coming weeks. Not months or anything like that. It's got to be probably by the end of this month. Because I mean, August, they couldn't just flip the switch a couple days before the season starts, because the season technically starts like August 31st. That's like the first college
Yeah.
football game.
Hmm.
So I mean, I would think, especially if they're planning on pushing it back to the springtime, they would have to have a plan of action already amongst all the Power Five conferences.
So I want to end the video on this. Any long-term, since we're here on the Red River rivalry or shootout, whatever you guys want to call it, what I think I always kind of call it the Red River shootout. It's just easy
Hmm.
to say. That's how I've always worded it. But whatever you want to call it, what are there any long-term ramifications? Not ramifications. Are there any long-term changes you would like to see to it? Since we're on the topic and it's here today, I've heard, shout out to college football nerds. They talked about, hey, is this a time to evaluate doing a home and home like Alabama and Auburn? I don't want to see that. But what are are there any tweaks you would make uh, to the Texas OU rivalry?
No, I mean, I like going there the past couple of years. You win and a loss, both of them. Uh, I loved the atmosphere. I loved seeing half burnt orange, half what was it, crimson? I don't know, but I loved seeing it. I loved the interactions, even with the OU fans, everything like that. So I mean, I loved it. I mean, the venue is a venue. I mean, you'll still get that anywhere you want to go. But
It's
if
cool
we
how
if
the stadium's there in the fairgrounds. That's cool to me.
and it doesn't feel like it's a home and home. It always, every single time you play, it feels like you have a home. It feels like you can have a home field
Mhm.
advantage regardless, even if you're designated the home team for that. So that's what I like about them. That's what I think is kind of special.
To me, it's the most unique tradition that two schools have together in college football. And we're biased, right? But from nobody has it split the way we do. Um, the and then the backdrop of the state fair of Texas, which is a big deal for everybody in that area, right? The fact that it's almost equidistant travel for both schools, um,
The
it
only
being
the only college I think that has something like this is Georgia and Florida.
yeah, the
Or
outdoor
yeah,
cocktail
yeah,
party,
yeah,
um, which is somewhat similar, but
yeah.
it hasn't. They've tinkered with that over the years. They've gotten it a little bit more consistent. I think they do it in Jacksonville, wherever they play their game. But um, with this, it's been the Cotton Bowl, straight up and
Hmm.
down, and it's been split straight up and down over the course of my lifetime and since I've been a Texas fan, right? So the only thing I would ever be open to tweaking is if you're changing the time slot. But I understand why they have it as an early game, as annoying as it kind of is, because you don't get much tailgating in before the game. It's kind of like you're up, you're around the fair, you're doing stuff, you're moving around, and there's stuff to do. But then you're right into football at 11 a.m. Right, so it's it's quite an experience unlike any other. I recommend people that are not fans of either school just at one point in their life, if you're a fan of college football, to check it out. It's worth your while
Hmm.
to see. And I've been in a lot of different environments. Even when I went, so it's crazy because I went to the Big 12 championship game against OU before I ever
Yeah,
went to my first Cotton Bowl game, and they were very, very, very different environments
yep.
and games, right? So
Hmm.
this news is a damper on things. The reality is setting in. I just hope that we're all responsible as fans and what we can do in our communities and our day to day of keeping safe and following all the guidelines, regulations. I know a lot of people are trying to politicize this thing for whatever reason when it comes to public health, but uh, there's at this point where we're headed with the trajectory of what they deem is feasible to conduct business and from a football manner, we're in trouble of things going around on time and in a reasonable fashion. So we'll see what happens, man. Any other thoughts you have just on this whole the breaking news today, Mr. Tran?
No, not really. Just I just wish they'd make up their mind and get us prepared. And I think it honestly because everyone always says that after basketball's done, there's the dead period of sports. So
Hmm.
um, if this was switched over to an April kickoff, I could deal with that. I just want to know. I want to know. That's it.
I'm with you. I think we have to mentally, especially as football fans, just start getting your mind ready for seeing football in the spring. To me. That's starting to look like the best case scenario. I'm more on board with that, and we can be present, whatever the new normal will be for sporting events, because I think it will change for a while. But um, this whole half-ass trying to shove it into the fall,
Hmm.
it's starting to look grim. So
Yep.
guys, let me know in the comments what you think, how you feel about the news, how you feel about any tweaks you'd like to see, if you're ever interested in doing a home and home with OU, and any other thoughts you have. But we appreciate everyone to continue to support the video and throw us a like and help us grow this platform. So, guys, with that, horns always up.